to order, it's 1:30. Everybody want to stand up and do the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There we go. All right, Chris is out this week, so I get the meeting. Public notification of this meeting has been published, posted, and distributed in accordance with South Carolina Freedom of Information Act. Everybody got the agenda? Gonna approve that?
Make a motion to
First,
approve.
got a motion, got a second? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
All right, approval of the minutes last week. Any
Motion.
comments on the?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I wouldn't think there would, but no
Motion
comments?
to approve the minutes?
So move. You got a second? Got a second? All those in favor? Aye? Aye. All right. Minutes are approved. Public comments. We got some public today. We got any comments today, or are people just sitting and listening? Just enjoying the show. Awesome.
No
Thank you.
snoring.
All right. All right, director's report. Mr. John? Come on down.
That was pretty quick. I thought we'd have some comments since we have the public here today. You sure you don't want to say something? Tell us about yourself or something? We never get public here, it's exciting. All right, well, welcome. We're already at August, it's hard to believe we're here, but rolling along, getting towards the end of the federal fiscal year, so starting to see some grants coming in and grants get announced and stuff like that, so we'll talk a little bit through that. But we've got a few action items to go through too, so we'll see how this works. All right, now tell me.
It's different every month.
Seriously, where did you point it?
Operator
Alec, you set me up again, man.
It did work, we flipped it.
All right, meeting's over.
Try it. Try it now.
Okay.
There we go.
Uh-huh. All right, we gotta figure it out. Okay, so taxiway Foxtrot Rehab at Hilton Head is just about wrapped up. All the big work is completed. We actually did a construction meeting this morning down at Hilton Head. And the paving finished up and the temporary markings are all on there. So it is, for all intents and purposes, complete. There'll be a little bit of work done on the edges of the taxiway because they're built up an additional 2 inches with this overlay. And then sod will be laid out. And that's about all that'll happen for about a month. And then in a month, they'll come back and do the permanent markings with the glass beads, and it'll be complete. So it was a fast project. The project time was only 28 days. And they got a few extra days because of the storm last week, but they're inside of the time. So they did a great job out there. I think it was very minimal disruption to traffic. We did a few nighttime closures where they had to mill out the stub taxiways and join those up. But everything went pretty smoothly. For those of you who have had the pleasure of going through the little dip at runway 3, that's gone now. That's been repaired as part of this project. So if you've had that, let us know how that goes too, because we watched a couple airplanes today, and I think there's maybe another very small dip just outside of that area. So I understand it's a little bit to the left of the center line.
Okay.
So if you're on the center line or you cheat a little bit to the right, I don't think you'll experience it. But we watched some Embraers take off and they didn't have any up and down, so that
We're
was a
always
good
on the
sign.
center line.
I know you're always on the center line, that's okay, good. You don't have to tell us, Brian. All right, so great project, and is there anything else on that, Steve, that I talk about? I mean, I think it was pretty smooth.
Yeah, it was smooth, other than we're gonna get some added markings on the gate spots.
Right, yeah, we're looking at maybe getting a little bit additional painting done by the terminal, which would be a nice add-on. But good project. APAC was a contractor. They're the kind of the one of two asphalt contractors in the area. They've done a lot of our work out there, and they know the airport well, and they really do a good job. So we're very pleased with that product. All right, Tropical Storm Debbie came through last week, and we had a little bit of water out there, but the contractors did a really nice job of getting on top of that early, and they prepped for the storm. It was nice that we had the heads up. So you can see the one on the lower right shows you how they kind of flattened things out and graded it so that the water would run when it came, and it did come, and it puddled, and they were able to put pumps in and carve out some ditches and get rid of the water pretty quickly. So they did a great job of really only having to deal with the water as it was coming down. And basically as it waned, they were able to have things cleaned up, and the site dried up pretty quickly. So they did a great job. We did have mosquito control out last week right after the storm, which is a good thing. They were out doing some larvicide operations. But it was nice to let us know they were coming, and we were able to put out some social media alerts just to let folks know that if they saw the helicopter that was hovering over areas, maybe they're not used to it, what they were doing is spraying a larvicide to try to get rid of mosquitoes before they hatched and came out and bit you while you're trying to enjoy the great outdoors. So that's the helicopter does the larvicide because that's a lower speed, lower altitude work that they do. When the spraying happens, that's when you see the OV-10 Bronco. So if you're out there and you see a guy who you think's a daredevil flying really low and really fast and can't decide where he's going because he keeps going back and forth, there's a reason that he's flying low and in a pattern, and that's the mosquito control airplane that's flying and doing the aerial spraying. So if you enjoy sitting outside in your yard, you can at least tip your hat to those guys every now and again. They do a great job. And it's very, very scientific. So I can't get into any of the details, but if you ever want to have a great class, talk to mosquito control, because it's really amazing what they know and what they can tell you. We often get questions about why do they fly, right early in the morning. We're trying to read the paper and drink our cup of coffee, and we have this airplane buzzing our house as the sun is coming up. And the reason for that is to get ahead of the honeybees. So many hives and just so many natural bees here that if they were to spray when the sun is up and it's warm and all the bees are out and they're active, they end up killing entire hives with the spray. Whereas if you're early, you may kill some scout bees, but you don't kill a hive. So there's a reason behind everything that they do, and we just encourage folks, if you've got questions, jump on the county website, find mosquito control, and learn about it. It's pretty fascinating. All right, hopefully you've seen the new billboard. We redesigned the billboard coming off the island. This is in Bluffton over by the light there at Malphus Road by Lowe's and Moe's. It's kind of like the airport area in there because Savannah's got a couple there. We've got that there. So we changed some things around to increase the size of the font and make that stand out a little bit more, and let people know that we're about having fun and having access to all those great nonstop flights. All right, the Water Festival, hopefully people had a chance to go out and visit that. We had a major sponsorship in that this year, which was exciting. So we had an information booth set up on the first weekend. We're handing out some things to folks so they can stop by and learn more about the airport. And Marlene and Eric did a great job of staffing all that. And did we have some board members in there? I can't remember. No, just us. Okay, these guys were out there sweating it out on that first Saturday. It's always the hottest day of the year, that first Saturday. And maybe the second one with the parade too, because it was pretty warm for that. But we did have our new ARF truck up here. So you remember a couple years ago it was in St. Patrick's Day in Hilton Head, and this year it was at the Water Festival. So they did shoot the water too, so tried to cool some people off, and enjoyed that. So Eric and Marlene and Eric's son got a chance to ride on top of that guy and sweat it out. So it was kind of cool because you don't often see a truck like this in the parade. Do we have the one with Chief? Is that it? Let me jump around real quick. Let me go forward and then I'll go back. All right, so this is our fire chief, Chief Davidson, and his son, who's with Burton District, and they're two trucks. So obviously our truck is bigger and cooler and better and faster. But kind of a cool father-son opportunity there. And got a lot of social media likes, as you can see, over 35,000 on this one. And so one of the, I guess the guy who runs the social media for the fire district said it was like a cute puppy dog picture where everybody liked the puppy dog. Well, that's Chief and his son, Chase. So pretty cool opportunity for father and son to do that, to both be in the parade. All right, so I think we'll back up. look at that. All right, so there's Todd out there in his Sea Ray. That's for the Blessing the Fleet on the last part of Water Festival. So normally you see boats going down the river. Todd had to change it up a little bit, and he brought Sea Ray out there and had that blessed as well. So it's a good opportunity. You might as well get blessed if you have the opportunity for that. So that's kind of a fun picture. Uh-oh, I'm going the wrong way. There we go. All right, updates on the terminal. We did just send out an update last night, so hopefully everybody saw that. It's got a few more pictures and stuff. But I've told a few people this week that we're in the stage of the project where we're kind of making a mess before we build something beautiful. And that's just the way it has to be. You have to break some eggs to make the omelet, but I assure you the omelet's gonna be a good one.
It
So,
looks like the pictures got reversed but when you stop and think about it, it's what you wanna show.
yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so we're tearing everything up, and there was new sewer line, water line, and an electrical duct bank that went through this area here. So those first couple of bays of parking have been completely eliminated, and that's where the new road is going to go. So it'll be a 4-lane road out in front of that terminal. We're gonna do it in 2 phases of 2 lanes each, so that the first 2 lanes will be built, and then the inside 2 lanes closest to the building will be used as construction area. And then once it's all finished, we'll have all 4 lanes opening up. All right, more of the parking lot. That's some of the area where the utility lines went through, and that's where parking lot used to be, flagpoles used to be, sidewalk used to be. So it's been interesting just making a pathway so customers could make their way from the parking lot to the terminal. But again, it's kind of amazing how well the customers are adapting to the change. They very easily are finding their way through this and making their way to the terminal. And I think it's been kind of as painless as we could ask for. It's really moved smoothly. And the contractors do a good job of having a presence out there as well so that they can help anybody who looks a little bit confused. But it's been working pretty smoothly. All right, there's the utility work there. Just a little shout out to the civil engineering, because I always told people what I used to do was the stuff that nobody ever knew was there until it went wrong. So that's the poor life of the civil engineers and the site contractors. Nobody appreciates you until the sewer line breaks or the water line breaks or somebody cuts the power line or something like that, and then all of a sudden you're making your money. But these guys are installing you can see electrical duct bank stuff to the left, and then that's a sewer manhole on the right there. Steel is on site, so, oops, I had taken the E off the end of that, and then I forgot. It's not somebody named Steel. It is, the structural steel is coming in, and within a few weeks, we'll start to see that going vertical, so.
It's just special steel.
That is special steel, thank you.
Special steel.
It's a good way to put it, that's special steel, yep. That's right.
It's premium steel.
It's the best stuff you can get, absolutely. All right, so quick updates. We had a meeting probably about 3 weeks ago now with the airlines, and we talked through a couple of major items. One was a passenger facility charge program that we're moving into another one. We had done 5 before, we're executing number 6 now. And what happens there is each time you finish a PFC program and start a new one, you come up with a whole list of projects that the PFCs apply to, and then you have to vet those to the airlines so they get a chance to look at them, comment on them, and then once that, they have 30 days to comment, and once they agree to those projects, and we submit the entire package to the FAA for their approval, and then it makes everything approved, and we begin collecting those PFCs again for these specific projects. So it's a whole host of projects, terminals on there, things like that. So all of our airfield projects that are grant-related are included in the PFC application, because we can basically pay back our local share of those projects with the PFCs. Again, if you don't remember, the PFC is passenger facility charge, and that is the fee that's put on every enplaning passenger is a $4.50 charge. That's the limit that the federal government allows. It was set back in 2000. It's not been increased in 24 years now. So if you know any politicians, hit them with, we need to increase the PFC. We talk about that quite often. But the cost of doing business has gone up a lot in 24 years, but the PFC's not increased. So The airport realizes $4.39 of that $4.50, because 11 cents goes to the handling fee to the folks who submit the PSCs to us. So we don't get every dime, but we get just about every dime of that. And that, like I said, goes into the projects, so. That's going on, and then we had the Part 139 inspection, was it 2 weeks ago? I lose track of time, I think it was 2 weeks ago.
Before the conference room.
Yes, yeah, thank goodness. So we had that on it was a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of that week, and the inspection went pretty well. We haven't gotten our written report back yet from the inspectors, because they move on and do other airports as well. And then once they get a chance to get back to the office, they put the reports together and send them out to the airports. But things went pretty well. We've learned a lot. This was our third year with the particular inspector that we had, and she brought with her the inspector we'll have next year. So there was a little bit of a turnover going on. So you usually get an inspector for 3 years if nothing major changes. So we've gone through a 3-year cycle. I think learned a lot about, how to do business at the airport, how to document what we do at the airport, training records and certifications and things like that. So kind of came a long way and had a good inspection overall.
Was there any discussion or outcome about the training issues from a previous inspection?
That's still a work in
Still
progress.
a work in progress?
It is, yep.
This didn't interfere with it or override
No,
it? Okay.
no, this was completely separate. Same people involved, same inspector from 2 years ago, but totally focused on this year's inspection. So things went pretty smoothly. And that's all I've got on here. I think I told Chris I was gonna talk about a couple other things, and then I didn't write them down, so. I don't know what they were. So, I'll look at my note, yeah, I know. I am very reliant on Post-it notes, so whoever did invent those was a genius. So if anybody's got ideas of what we need to talk about, you can throw them at me. Steve, Eric, anything that I'm missing? Hangers? Yeah, well, I guess I can tell you, we've got a pretty loaded committee agenda for next Monday, going to Public Facilities and Safety Committee. That's kind of our parent committee with County Council. And I forget how many items it is, but it's 15 items, yeah. So some of those are approvals of agreements like we've got on our agenda for today. Some of those are grant acceptances like we've got on the agenda today. But there's a lot going on at the airports. Like I said, we're getting towards the end of the federal fiscal year, so the grants are coming through. And what we found, and you probably noticed the last couple of months, as we get a good idea from the FAA that the grants that we've applied for are going to come in a window of time, maybe 90 days or so, what we've done is prepared those resolutions for county council ahead of time, brought them to you for your approval, and then we get them to county council actually before we get the grant offer. And then they're all contingent upon the final grant offer being made from the FAA to the county as the airport sponsor. But that's worked out really well, because when the FAA submits the grant offer to us to accept them, it's all done electronically and everything is auto forward. So once the FAA manager signs it, it automatically goes to the county administrator's email. And when he signs it, it goes to the county attorney, and when he signs it, it goes back to the FAA. So if everything's lined up and everybody knows it's coming, it happens very, very quickly. So it's to our advantage to continue this. We kind of did this by mistake. We said, well, we should probably get these queued up because we know there are a lot coming. And then we found out that this is definitely the way to do it, because we'll have all the approvals in place before that very rapid, and it sounds funny to say that very rapid federal process takes place, but it does. They're very efficient at getting this money out once it's signed. So it's great. So we're going to continue to do that ahead of those actual offers, because it's been very useful so far. I think those are the big ones. The only other thing I might mention is in November. I know sometimes we cancel November because of Thanksgiving, but this year is scheduled for the week before Thanksgiving, I believe. So mark your calendars for that. What I'm trying to line up with our air service development team is to come in and do what they call a community visit, which will be to give a presentation about basically the state of the airline business, what we're doing to try to market to the airlines and increase the business that they do at the airport, and just talk about several different, maybe the small community air service development grant that we've got and that we're using to fund some big advertising pushes, but they'll be in town to give those types of briefs. So it's November the 21st is the date of that meeting, so if you can be present for that, please do. Where will that be, Rosia? Is that gonna be here or there? In November? We're here, let's see, September there, October here, I guess November there, right? Okay, so it'll be in Hilton Head, which actually works out fairly well, because I'll probably have a couple other meetings with them, some with other groups on the island. So anyhow, mark that down, and if you can be there, it'd be great. It should be a good opportunity to chat with them and get a good brief from them. Let's see, I think those are the big ones I've got now. All right, any questions? Anybody been training for the 5K?
I drive every day.
Don't think so.
If anybody wants to just come out for the 5K, you can do it. You can walk it. We do have people pushing baby carriages and all that fun stuff, so that's October the 12th. So if anybody's interested in being out there, come out on October the 12th. It's a Saturday, and gun goes at 8 o'clock, right? 08, so.
You can also be at the finish line, put medals on people.
That's right. We never have, it's always one of us who's run the race, and we're gassed, and they're like, here, hang medals, and you're like, can I just have my Gatorade? So yeah, if anybody wants to come out and be that cool person to hang the medals, who doesn't smell bad, that'd be great. So you're invited. All right. I will conclude the director's report at that point and turn it back over to you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thanks, John. Any unfinished business we need to talk about? I didn't have anything from Chris. Nope.
One question, John, because you didn't mention anything about Beaufort Airport, ARW, in your report. So last time when you weren't here, we were talking about the hangar project. Is there anything new on that?
Yeah, that's a good point. That's one of the agenda items for committee on Monday, and it's a discussion with the committee. So the idea is to meet with the committee, talk with them about the idea behind the need for the hangars, and then the idea behind the funding for the hangars that you all voted on last month, and to make sure the committee understands that, this is something that the airports board is recommending as a course of action, and basically get committee to buy in and then direct staff to develop that plan. So that'll happen Monday.
And I think, are we having a meeting prior to that at what, 1 o'clock?
Yeah,
At at the airport? Okay.
Right.
I'll have to join that meeting remotely because I have a conflict at 1, you saw that?
Okay.
Yeah.
But I'll be there physically for the 3 p.m.
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
be there at the airport.
Perfect. Yeah, and it's a great opportunity to say, this is the perfect type of agenda item that we need some folks at that meeting. And so I reached out mostly to Beaufort folks,
Yeah.
but Jim and Chris and David, and I think we've got, maybe Tom Jenkins is coming as well. But, all pilots, all airplane guys, all people who are really interested in what happens at the airport with regard to hangars, and understand the need for the hangars. So I think that'll be impactful to have you guys present at the meeting. So
Good.
thank you for that.
In that process, we go to that meeting and then get their buy-in, and then what happens after that? They staff it and it goes to the county council for approval?
Right, the process then would go from Public Facilities and Safety Committee, this ideally, and then pitched back to staff to say, hey, we like this, go develop the details for this, figure out the rates, terms, conditions, all that, and then come back to committee, and at that point, it will come back to Finance Committee, because it now becomes a financial item. And then it gets briefed by the finance staff to Finance Committee, and then it would go to County Council.
For final sign-off.
Right, and I think it'll probably need to go as an ordinance, which means 3 readings of council. So it is a longer process, but it formalizes that agreement, which is,
Sure.
I think that's pretty important.
Okay, good.
That meeting is Monday, where and when again?
Monday in here at 3 o'clock.
Then pre-meetings at the airport at 1.
Yeah, and we're about halfway down the agenda, I think, but then we have the whole last 15 items, so people are gonna be dozing towards the end, but we're gonna try to move it as quickly as we can.
Cool, okay, great. Thanks, John, and then, new business, I guess we've got some items here, we have to vote on these individually. Is that true?
Yeah, probably, I think, definitely the grant acceptance, I think probably, they're all a little bit different.
Okay. Do we need to have discussions on each one individually, or do we wanna just say, is there any questions on these before we get started on the reading and voting?
That's up to you. I mean, the first one is, like this is one of the grant acceptances.
Yeah.
Okay, the first two they are related, but they're two separate grants. They're both for Beaufort Executive for the runway rehab project. And the reason there are two is that there's one that's through the BIL funding, which is
Okay.
the bipartisan infrastructure legislation. And then the, item two there is AIP, so that's our normal
Normally,
grant
I
funding,
think-
but they require two applications, so that's why they're two separate items.
Okay. All right, well, why don't we go ahead and, we'll start with number one, grant acceptance, recommendation to accept the FABIL grant.
Make a motion to approve.
Do you have a second?
You're making the motion, right?
I was making the motion.
Okay.
You got a second? Second? All those in favor of acceptance? Aye. Aye. All those opposed, same? Okay. That was passed and approved. Grant acceptance number two, recommendation to accept the FAAIP grant. Got a motion to accept
I
that?
actually have a question about both of these, just not for the grant, but, so assuming the grants are funded, is there a timeline for when we get the money, how long we have to use it, when you think you do all this? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, good question. What happens is, once those grants are offered, then, so we've got, project's been bid, so we've got the bids in hand. So once the grant is approved, then we move forward to contract award to the contractor. And then before we issue a notice to proceed to the contractor, we talk about that schedule and when is the best time to implement. And that will be, several factors will play into that. One of those will be the somewhat seasonality of the use of the airport. We have some busier times and some slower
If I'm
times.
not mistaken, we originally wanted to do it this month, right?
Ideally, it would happen in the heat of the summer.
Yeah.
It's kind of the slowest season,
Okay,
but can't predict the grant cycle, so.
Right.
And then it will also contractor availability, what time they can execute it and such, so those different factors will play into what the actual project dates are.
But it
Do you
moves pretty
anticipate
quick. Once-
This year or next year? I mean, I know we're talking the government, so it's probably next year,
Yeah.
but I just don't know.
For the grant,
No, for the actual work to be done.
well, once a grant's issued, it's all on us to handle everything else locally, so, that really depends on contractor availability and the best time to do it at the airport.
Okay.
But a lot of that pre-work is done for this particular project, so the money gets here, then we start the actual execution
Right.
part of it. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
okay.
So I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we accept, item number two for the AIP grant.
Okay, you have a second? Second, okay, all those in favor, say aye. Great, passes. All right, number three, work authorization, recommendation to approve, Talbert, Bright, and Ellington. Is that the, engineer?
Yes.
That's Judy.
That's Judy. That's our consultant.
Nice, consultant, great. For the, I guess that's just for Hilton Head.
John, could you explain a little bit more about
Yeah,
the airport layout plan and what specifically that contract involves?
Sure. Hopefully everybody got a chance to read through that work authorization, or at least flip through it. It's pretty lengthy. I think it's 30-some pages, so I'll do my best to give you a Reader's Digest version of that. But basically what the ALP is it's your guiding document for the future of the airport. There's no real set interval as to when you need to update an ALP. For some airports, it could be every 5 years if things are really moving quickly, or if there's major changes at the airport. For other airports, it could be once every 30 years if there's not much going on. But for us, we've had, major changes at the airport. We've worked through the projects on the master plan. We've had a big change in the fleet, serving the commercial side. And those are pretty major changes that really push us to needing to update the airport layout plan. And the layout plan it looks at all kinds of different things. It looks at the forecast of future activity at the airport. It looks at all of the facilities that we have at the airport. It considers any facilities that need to be retired. It considers any facilities that need to be acquired and worked into the airport. So it really tries to set the stage for the next couple of decades. You really try to look into the future. There's environmental discussions about the airport. There's business discussions about the airport and how it can best serve the community, economic development wise. What do I miss out? There's a public component to this as well. So if you remember, when we designed the terminal at Hilton Head Island, we had a stakeholder group that was made up of a lot of people who represent a lot of different constituencies. We'll have a similar type advisory group that gets set up for this airport layout plan process. There is some requirement for public hearing on this, so you do have some meetings to share information about what's being discussed. You do a lot of alternatives analysis, thinking about, what does the airport want to be when it grows up and how do we get there? You may recall on the last master plan, there were several different alternatives as to, how the runway would be developed and that sort of thing. So we'll go through all those types of scenarios. What am I missing, Judy? That's a real simplification of what's going on, but a lot of sub-consultants are brought in. It's a big team that will meet and talk about a lot of things. There'll be a lot of sessions where we're just really workshopping things, and then there'll be some public sessions where we're saying, here's some of the ideas we've come up with, here's the information boards, and we'll gather feedback as well.
What's the financial scope of the work authorization? Is that been determined yet or not yet?
It is, we've got a grant applied for on that one, and my email cut off, so I don't have the number in front of me. But I wanna say do you remember, Judy? I wanna say it's close to $1 million. Yeah, maybe just over $1 million. And that, like I said, it's not a 1 month project. It's a major planning project. The product is a set of documents, drawings as well as written, documents that guide the development of the airport for the next several years.
This is, if I'm not mistaken, you have to have these to get the federal money
Exactly.
in the future. You gotta have it in a layout plan, you gotta have an approved master plan, you gotta have all these things done prior to applying for and receiving the grants, correct?
It is one of the conditions, one of the sponsor assurances of the FAA AIP program is to have an updated airport layout plan. And that plan, see, people think the master plan gets approved by the FAA, it really doesn't. The master plan is a local part. The ALP does get approved by the FAA, and it becomes a legal document once it's approved by the FAA.
Okay. Any more questions, comments?
So I'll make a motion that we approve the Talbot Wright and Ellington work authorization for the Hilton Head Airport layout plan.
Brian, got a second? All right, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you. All right, the next one, commercial operating agreement. Can you brief us on that one a little bit?
Yes.
What was that?
Yeah, Howard made the motion, and Brian made the second.
Brian got the second.
All right, so number 4 on the agenda, the commercial operating agreement is for one of our tenants out at Beaufort Executive. Sometimes rents his airplane out.
Okay.
So in order to do something like that and make a transaction, you have to have a commercial operating agreement with the airport. So that covers him in the airport from a legal standpoint, so that's what that one represents.
Okay. Any comments or questions on that one? We have a motion to approve. Got one? Got a second? All right, Mark's the second. All those in favor of approving the operating agreement, say aye.
Aye.
So moved. And then number 5, rental agreement between Beaufort County and UPS.
All right, this is just kind of a renewal of an agreement that we've got with UPS. They use some of a parking lot that we've got along Hunter Road for some of their overflow parking, and
Okay.
so we generate a little bit of revenue from them.
Little revenue.
We're happy to help.
Got it. Okay, we got a motion to approve that one?
Speak up down at this end.
If you'd like, I'll make it, it's quiet on that end.
We're the seconds.
You're the second side, okay. We got one, Howard got a second over here. All right, all those in favor? Aye. That one's done. Approved. Chairman's update. Chris didn't leave me a whole lot. He said that, we've already talked about it, the meeting on Monday with the facilities folks and the hangars at ARW, so we've kind of discussed that already. Other than that, I don't have any other updates.
Maybe Leslie can brief us on the ongoing ambassador program?
Well,
We got an email.
committee reports.
Okay, let's jump to committee reports. The Ambassador Committee got an update?
Passenger Services Committee, we're doing very well. We'll finish up September first, but it's been a successful summer for everyone, and we've had some good ambassadors. And it's reached a point where I have people reaching out to me and want to do it next year. So
wow.
it's becoming very popular.
Just
They probably
volunteer.
like the shirts.
Yeah,
That's what it is.
well, I have to give Rosia a
Different color here,
compliment,
please.
because not one person had a problem with the shirts this year.
No thanks to Steve, right?
So she did a good job.
We're going for shorts and skirts next year to complement the shirts.
Uniform, okay.
Drinking on the way down here, Howard?
Mr. Chairman, I have one comment, and this is more of a procedural thing, and it really doesn't, it'll save us 4 seconds in the meeting, but, as you know, I work for the town of Bluffton, and there's, apparently there was a statute passed recently, I'm really talking to Rocio. Apparently we don't have to have approval of the agenda on agendas anymore. Bluffton's taken all that out of all their public agendas. You don't have to approve the agenda, so we could save a tiny bit of ink and 3 seconds of approval. Just thought I'd bring that up, let her look into it.
Continuous improvement.
Continuous improvement. That's all I have.
Is there any other committees that have anything to report this week, this month? Nope. Okay. All right, we get our second citizen comment period. Any new ones come in? Nope. Anybody want to say anything? Nope.
1407.
1407. All right.
So,
All right, time to adjourn. Got a motion to,
That's weird.
So moved.
so moved. You got a second?
Unless you're
We got a bunch of seconds. All right.
1407.